first one's actually, I'm going to bring up a topic that usually grabs people's attention. Money. So, yeah, okay, good. So you didn't all drink and eat too much earlier, okay? So, I kind of think about our enterprise users. Why should they be deploying a BYOD program? Is it really about saving the business money? So maybe you can each take a shot at that.
I think people have no idea. And I say that because I think there's a lot of considerations. People think, okay, BYOD, and I'm going to not have to manage the devices anymore, and I'll do a stipend. Or, I'll just say, great, you're supported on your own. I think that the real difference is that traditionally when people get devices, it's a small segment of the population. So it's it's executives, it's sales, it's IT and consultants. As you're extending BYOD, you're typically extending the device count much deeper into an enterprise. And those are people that you may not have traditionally had any budget set aside for in terms of technology plans, reimbursements. So all of a sudden, when you start to think, okay, I can use BYOD to extend to a much broader audience, but I'm going to give people $20 a month if they bring their own device because they're going to do a little bit of work with it, and then you're extending that to a much broader audience, that can create challenges. You may not have extended maybe all the licenses internally that you may need. Maybe there's VPN licenses, maybe there's certificates, maybe there's lots of other things on the support side that are involved. So I think BYOD sounds great to get started, and people think, okay, I'm going to save a ton of money, but I don't think most enterprises have really thought through everything involved, and I think what we're seeing in the adoption is varied adoption of companies, and I'm sure we'll talk more about who's adopting, but I don't think there's a pure answer yet.
Good, thanks. David, looks like one.
Sure, yeah. So to your point, right, people generally have no idea. There's no real definition. BYOD, to its core, is really it's a transference of data plans from being corporate data plans to being personal data plans. Okay, that's one component of it. But there's so many other components that really go into it. And the value conversation to have, and the real opportunity to have, is BYOD brings up all the right parts of the conversation around productivity. It brings up all the right parts of the conversation around how mobility and the bigger aspect of mobility can bring goodness into the organization. How we look at now mobile devices and mobile security and mobile infrastructure. We have the ability now to just kind of move that away, and it's devices and security and infrastructure. Let's bring them all together. And mobile device management really gives us the ability to do those things. So BYOD, if it's being approached purely from a cost savings perspective, I think history is showing us, there are a lot of experience out there showing us, you can't just look at it just from that lens. You have to open it up broader and identify, again, line of business, true productivity benefits for doing it.
Good. Maybe Jose, or John, you have the mic, you go next.
I got the mic. Yeah. Since everybody stole my thunder already, but no, I think that these guys are right on with this. When you look at cost savings, if you're going into BYOD strictly for cost savings, you may not be going down the right path. And I think that's what we found from different studies and companies that we've talked to. I would say that probably 99.9% of those companies are not doing BYOD because it's going to save them money. And in most cases, it may be costing them a little bit more money to actually go down that path. But as these guys talked about, there are different benefits to doing that. So again, it's something that you really have to take a close look at. There have been companies that have been able to save money. I think Cisco was one of them that actually showed that they were able to save some money by doing BYOD, but that's definitely not the norm that we've seen. And it's BYOD is a fairly new topic, and so there's limited research on truly finding the values of being able to show a savings, a cost savings with BYOD.
They didn't have to pay for a VPN license.
Jose, were you going to add something?
Yeah, just briefly. I agree with that. The other point, to us, it's an issue to the end user. If you go ahead and start cramming things on my personal device, so I purchased this thing, I paid out of my pocket, and now I have to limit myself as to what to do. serve the purpose of security, which is one big area for the solution, but also provide the end user, the employee, the liberty of doing what they want to do when they're at home with the phone. So, the point is that it covers a lot of different areas. And yeah, I think money is not saving money is not really one of the key topics.
Good, thanks. Thank you, all good comments. Now, a lot of businesses or end users kind of want to, their life's complicated. This BYOD thing, maybe it's actually not so difficult to make a purchase decision, I don't know. Maybe you could each comment on what are the key, is it consumer reports? What are the key purchase criteria somebody should have in mind when they're trying to choose a BYOD solution?
All right, I'll start on this one. So I think there's some very specific things that companies should look at when they're trying to find a solution for BYOD. And there's a couple topics that you would think about with this. Of course, management would be one of them, right? How do you manage the devices? Can you push applications to them? Your basic security policies and things like that. So management would be one side of it. Security is going to be probably one of the biggest things that people look at. And security is going to include the relationship between the device and the server. It's going to include the data that's on the devices, whether it's data at rest or data in flight. So those are things that really are a big concern for a lot of corporations. And then you have to also look at other things like your messaging integration. So what type of messaging systems can you integrate with? Is there a big platform there for that? You get then into things like unified communications, where you're using your enterprise instant messaging programs, whether you're tying into your PBX systems, different things like that. And then just a couple more that I could think of would be really back-end systems, right? How do we tie into back-end systems? Do we have the ability, whether it's using a VPN client to get into our back-end systems, or what have you, how do we get into those applications that truly make us more productive? And then it comes down to support, right? What kind of company are you dealing with? What kind of support are they going to provide you? What kind of track record do they have in the industry for providing that support that you're going to need, especially going into this new realm that you may not have been in before?
I agree with that, but I think we're missing a part. The other part is, again, I'm going to keep coming back to this because you guys are very much on the security side, but I'm on the employee side. So I'm trying to save your lives and your personal information. I think the important part that also is missing is, have you ever happened to you that you have your phone and you're watching TV and notice that your phone slips into the couch, and then the next day you go to the office and you realize, I lost my phone, report it, and they remote wipe it. And sometimes it happens that they remote wipe your personal information too. So how happy are you going to be with that MDM solution, or that BYOD solution, I should say, if that happens? Another important thing is you mentioned stipends before, right? And stipends work for some people, but don't work for others. So if you have your person who is a factory worker, the amount of money that they're going to spend on phone calls and on data usage is going to be very minimal in comparison to your salesperson who is on the street all the time, hitting the street all the time. So that stipend is going to have to be bigger. But then how do you maximize as a corporation, how do you maximize that investment that you're making? The only way to really maximize that is to be able to grab the statement, the billing statement, and figure out what calls were made for work versus what calls were made for business. And then when you get to the side of data usage, it's really, toss up in the air. So if you can separate that personal side and that from that work side in an efficient fashion, in a seamless manner, I think that also affects the purchase decision.
John's another question.
Just summarizing, I think I've heard lots of different challenges and requirements. Really the key for us is flexibility. And we have companies that are rolling out BYOD in 50 different countries with different business units and P&Ls and labor laws and restrictions. And I think looking at solutions, you've got to have something that's flexible, so as your needs change, the solution changes with you. And that's a big focus for us. So certainly we're trying to meet all those different demands, but in a very flexible way so our customers can adopt and be sort of chameleons, region by region, country by country.
Thanks. Let me move on to a different question. Actually, David, you kind of disappointed me a little bit. You said no two are the same. And I look around the room, men and women, yes, we're all unique. We're all individuals, as Monty Python reminded us, if you've seen that skit. Anyway, but we're not that different. Here we all are, and we're all, most of us wearing jackets, and we're all not that different. So I'm thinking, boy, I was hoping this was going to be kind of off-the-shelf, cookie cutter, just I'll buy 10 of those, thank you very much. But, so it's not like that apparently, but maybe I'd like, if each of you could maybe share a bit of in-the-field experience. Can you share a success story? Maybe you don't need to name any names of accounts or whatever, but tell us a rock star, boy, this is what we did for this kind of customer, this is how brilliant the BYOD thing worked for them. So can you give us a kind of, for example? And I wasn't just, David, putting you on the spot, because I'm thinking, great, there must be 4 different, very varied examples if there's no 2 the same.
So from the enterprise, because we work in government, we work in state and local, we work in enterprise. So from an enterprise perspective, a marketing type firm, they had requirements that varied, actually. So they had, on one side of the marketing firm, they were involved with financial services companies. So by their requirements were extremely stringent because they basically were part of the supply chain. So that financial services company had a requirement that they would have some very specific things, a container, AES 256, some very strong requirements. And they had other aspects of the organization that had much less stringent requirements. So what we were able to do is, because we're not just one solution, we don't believe there's any one solution that solves everything across the gamut, we were able to go to that company, identify their needs and requirements, assess what they were going to need now and in the near-term future, put together a roadmap that addressed the specific types of needs and deliver a solution that actually incorporated multiple different products in the background, and then wrap that around with a standard set of services and capabilities. So, you've got a company with 500-600 folks that all have varying different requirements across the full gamut. BYOD is now the standard, and it supports, it's not limited to just one device. They have the flexibility to go up to 2 or 3 devices per person, but the thing is the security aspect is never compromised. The corporateness of the experience they have is never compromised. It's a very corporate experience, it's a very controlled experience, a very secure experience, but it's also very flexible in that they can use whatever device they want to, they can have whatever personal apps they need, and it's been a real success.
Good. Let me ask if other panelists can share a success story.
Well, we had our solution is not launched yet, it's launching this year, but we did a market trial with a large organization, and after about a month of testing the solution, the employees were so happy with the experience and the ability to do whatever they want to do on their phone that they really didn't want to return the test phones. So it's a very different example from what you're saying. The corporation, of course, was happy with the security piece, but from an employee standpoint, there were some of them were very, very, very sad to return their phone because they really didn't want to go back to what they were using before.
Good.
I think the value of the solutions that we provide is not just on the security side, but also maintaining privacy. And a lot of our success stories on BYOD resolve around the fact that we have all the knobs and levers to control privacy for the end users, especially working in Germany and in EMEA, where if you're roaming in the Benelux, that might be standard, but you don't necessarily want somebody to know you're roaming. Or in Germany, you have to make sure that you have to turn off all corporate activity during break time. Or there's areas where if emails on the phone at night, they can file for salary and wages just because email is available on the phone in off hours. We'd all love that. So I think the value of the overall device management capabilities for most of the vendors is providing those privacy knobs and levers that say based on who you are, the country, the region, the business you're in, turn off the ability to collect location services, turn off the ability to collect information on private apps, and you can get into very bad situations with an IT admin who sees that maybe there's a diabetes app on a device when he's doing a tech support call, and the next time he's in the cafeteria says, I'm sorry to hear you have diabetes or something. Well, that's a violation. That's a violation of somebody's their trust in the business and those types of things, and that results in what I started with these class action lawsuits coming up at us one of these days. So I think our big focus is also helping to make sure that we're working on behalf of our customers to maintain that privacy.
Thanks. Just before we wrap up, I don't know if you want to add any more, John, or don't need to if you don't want to.
I mean, just real quick, I think just going along with what these guys have said, the important thing is being able to give the users the experience that makes them want to use that device in the first place, with also having that security piece, right? They're bringing that device because they like that device. They want to have that experience. And so it's giving them the ability to do that, to do the things that they like, to have the apps on there, and to play their games, and to do the things with their kids on there, but knowing that that corporate data is going to be secure, to have that fine line that truly separates corporate from personal, and having complete control over both of those environments.
Good. Thank you. So let's